Good evening. We're all going to be led in the pledge by Ms. Politti.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand for a moment of silence.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Boulay? Here. Mr. Bergarelli?
Present.
Mr. Duray? Ms. Green? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Here.
Mr. Levenstein?
Here.
Ms. Poletti? Here. Mrs. Stradiron?
Here. We're going to go right to the public comment on agenda items. Just a reminder, no names, no personal attacks. And if you didn't put your email address on the sign-up sheets, please provide that to us if you need a response to any of your concerns or questions. We have nobody signed up for agenda items. Would anyone like to speak on agenda items? Okay, we'll go to the non-agenda items. We have one person signed up, Mr. Ray Harvey.
I'm back. It's been a while. The one thing I really want to really speak on tonight is, I know we've been beating this dead horse, right, over and over again about throwing support behind the superintendent. We really need to do that. She has 4 years. Let her do her job for 4 years. Then let's decide whether we want to keep her or not. But we need to give her our support. Because it's funny, my oldest brother is 77. And that's my go-to guy, right? Whenever I want to talk to someone that was in the 60s doing the civil rights movement from the roots, right? And I called him, and we was talking, and he's telling me the struggle that they having down in North Carolina, because he lives in North Carolina. And it's sort of parallel to ours, where the board is not supporting the superintendent, and the superintendent can't do his job in North Carolina because of the fact that he has to do all of these other things. And the schools and the students is the one that's suffering, right? So we really need to start looking at, why are we really here? Are we really here for the kids? Then let's us roll up the sleeves, and this is everybody. And I had discussions last night with some folks, and some folks don't like what I say, but that's okay. I'm a big boy. Because it's about the community as a whole, because we all must play a role, right? The Board of Ed, the leaders, the superintendent and her team, and the parents. See? And we have to set an example so we can bring the parents in here. Because look, where they at, right? They're not coming here because they feel like this is a dysfunctional place, and they don't want to waste their time coming here, right? So let's work together so that the parents will show up, and then we all can make our school a safer, better place to learn and to go, right? Because we can't, listen, there's no way that, and I know this, I'm nobody's fool, that if we don't get the parents involved, that this ain't gonna get resolved, right? We can go back and forth all you want to, but we need to get the parents aboard so that they will buy into. I just went to Middletown to my grandbabies, one of my grandbabies, school. And, you know, and I'm sitting in there and I'm listening to the teachers talk. And, you know, my daughter's sitting across from me. And the one thing I said to my daughter was, you need to get more involved in your child's life, right? Because the teacher only can do so much. Then you go home, she comes home to you. And then now it's your job to make sure your child is learning, not just the teacher, right? The only thing I didn't like about it, because I said to the principal there, I said, listen, I'm retired. Let Papa just pop into the room anytime. They said, we can't do that. See, and now that's the problem that I have, because I should be able to pop in. Not to disturb the class. I just sat there and watched my grandbaby, because I know my grandbaby. She ain't no angel. I can tell you that right now, right? And that's how we have to be. We have to be honest, open, if we want this thing to work. And I really do want this to work, because I see a lot of great scholars when I go to these football games, basketball games, that really wants to learn. They just need directions. They need leaders, and we should be their leaders, right? So let's put all of this other stuff aside, and let's get to work. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on non-agenda items?
Hi, I'm Tracy. I've spoken before. I have kids in the schools. I have a few questions. I know that you can't answer the questions, but I just want to put it out there anyway. As far as the DASA reporting, I would like to know if there's an outside resource of who is conducting the DASA information. Is it internal? Is it outsourced? I'm curious to know how the check and balance goes as far as DASA reporting goes. As far as follow-ups with the kids that are suspended for 5 days, how is that followed up? Are you investigating the children that don't have resources? I know the recent child that I spoke about, her mother died of cancer, and her father, she just came from another country. He doesn't speak English and doesn't have any resources, and she's basically on her own, this child. There's other children that I know of that recently I was told by, not an employee of the school, but someone who works in a pre-K system in Newburgh, that half of her children are in hotels. That's sad. So I just want to know how the follow-ups are going on the children. I'm also wondering about the committees. Do you have any committees? Was curious to know that. I know that it was talking about having parents in certain committees. I don't know if you're still working on those committees. I haven't heard any information about it. And I was concerned with the video I recently saw, the violent video in NFA Maine, where a child was hurt and a desk was thrown. I'd like to know where the teacher was. Why did someone have to run into, why would a student have to feel unsafe? And I would like to know a follow-up on that incident. And I'm glad that somebody recorded it. You have locked phones. This person was able to record that information. I think that the locked phones, I understand why. I had two teenagers in NFA Maine last year when my Kaylee, she has autism, she graduated. My daughter Kaylee with autism, definitely the phone is a distraction. It's a coping mechanism. She could not function. But my other daughter doesn't have autism, and she was able to have her phone on and be an honors and straight A student. And again, she works in Scholars and Scrubs of the Armory. I can't say enough about about her. She's still in your school, Lori. So I understand that we can't say some kids can have it and some kids cannot have it because it's distraction for others. But what happens to the students that need to record this violence if the teacher's not able to help them? How are they supposed to call for help? I would just like some follow-up about safety in the school. I'd also like to know, there was a fight with parents and teachers at NFA Maine. Also, some faculty was involved. Someone encouraged another child to fight. So that, I would like to know, how do you navigate that? Was the person suspended, the employee? What happened to the kids? I mean, and all the staffs are reporting, I was told by the student that was suspended for 5 days. She told me that she was in the school at Sacred Heart. I forgot the name of the special program you had there, but she said since that closed, she feels unsafe in NFA Maine. She said, oh, the kids are in NFA Maine, and there's fights all the time. So I am worried about the students over there. So that was it. That was my comments, my inquiries. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on non-agenda items?
This one, right? Oh, hi, good evening, everyone. I'm just here to speak on kind of basically piggybacking off of what Tracy's already said. I've seen 2 fights at NFA. Both of them were on social media. One of them was where the security guard, not the security guard, I guess the lunch lady, her daughter, got into the fight. And there was retaliation after school. So I heard that those parents that retaliated are going to be penalized. There are going to be consequences to pay. Now, I have something to say about that, because from the society that I come from, living in the city of Newburgh, that is the way that we handle things, unfortunately. That is the way we are taught to handle things. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So if I were to see that happen to my daughter, and I seen that there were staff involved that allowed it to happen, not knowing what I know now, I probably would have handled it the same way, because you're sitting back there, you are a parent watching your child being attacked on the phone, and you're watching staff allowing it to happen. The lunch lady was standing right there. Now that I know what I know now, it would take a lot for me to hold back from going up to defend my daughter, to make my daughter feel safe. Because what am I supposed to do if my daughter is sitting here getting attacked and there's staff there watching it happen? So as a parent, and if you are a parent, your job is to defend your child, make your child feel safe. So you're going to go handle that situation. That is the way that we grew up. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Unfortunately, we all know that you cannot handle situations that way. So what I would have done is I would have stepped back and I would have called whoever I needed to call to make sure that those staff that were involved in those kids' fight, they got their consequences and repercussions. There's another fight that I seen on Facebook where a kid was getting beat up. I didn't even see any teachers in the classroom, but this kid was getting beat up bad. When he looked up, his face was all bloody, and then after he was still on the ground, the other student took a chair and threw it at him. How are we supposed to feel safe taking our kids to school with all of this going on? Now, I get it, there's a way that we handle things and the way that we, put it out there, whether we want to be politically correct or not. But whatever have you, we have to make these families feel safe. In the last 2 videos that I seen, I went to my kid's school. And if I was that other child's parent where the lunch lady was standing right there, a couple of years ago, I probably would have did the same thing, because you're not going to put your hands on my daughter. And you're supposed to be there as a staff to protect my child and to make sure my child is safe, along with every other child. Those are the one other thing I had to speak about was the reading program in our school district. I really don't agree with the reading program. I don't feel like it's really benefiting our kids any. I just went to the library with my son and Ray, and my good friend Sandra seen me down there. And I took him down there so I can help him with his reading. I know he's doing good in school with his reading, but he's not at the level of reading that I feel like he's at. He brings home these easy reading books. That may be fine in school, whatever have you. He may be doing good in school, but to me, he could be doing better. To me, that's not, I don't feel like that's his reading level. So to make reading a little bit better, I took him down to the library, let him pick out his own book because it's always a fight. Oh, this book is too hard. It's just a fight. So I said, okay, we're going to go down to the library. You pick out your own reading book. I sat at that library from, I think, 4:30 till about 5:30. And we only got through the beginning of the book because he wasn't taking his time. You know, I had to keep reiterating, redirecting. And then I seen he was getting frustrated. So I just said, okay, we'll finish this book at home, but you're going to read. And that's something that I'm going to continue to do with him every day after school because you cannot make it in this world if you don't read. So I'm hoping that you guys start looking at a new reading program for the district so our kids can get on the levels that they need to be on. And again, I'm not saying that the teachers aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, because evidently they are with the reading program that they have, but it's not working for our kids because our kids are still under the reading level. So hopefully you guys can take a look at that, and hopefully we can get something done about these two fights and these two incidents and make sure that the parents and the staff are held accountable. That's it.
Would anyone else like to speak on non-agenda items? Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose: to discuss employment history of particular individuals, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, CSEA NTA, Colt Realty Corp. versus City of Newburgh, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti? Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Belay?
Yes.
We'll be returning in approximately 1 hour. Thank you. We're going to begin with the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Manning Campbell.
Thank you, Mrs. Straight-Iron. Good evening. Tonight I'd like to correct erroneous information that was recently reported by a local media outlet. During that report, I learned that our very own Board of Education president, unilaterally and without Board of Education authority, has renewed calls for the state to appoint a representative to monitor our district. A call for a review has not been a matter of discussion or agreement by the Board of Education, which disregards the democratic process. This report and call to the state appear to be based upon misrepresentation of events that occurred. I would like to be abundantly clear when I state that the district's DASA and assault reporting is accurate based on the New York State guidelines that were updated in July of 2021. This is not a matter of my opinion on the guidelines that are provided by the state for reporting, but a matter of fact that the district is correctly following those guidelines. The Education Department says that as of July 2021, there are 3 individual requirements for a school safety and education climate report, SSEC, to be filed for an assault, which include all of the following, not one of the following as reported by the media: a student who is 10 years of age or older, the incident is considered a felony, and not or, as reported by the media, was reported to the police. I would like to repeat that this is not a matter of my opinion or the opinion of anyone in our district on the guidelines that are provided by the state for reporting, but a matter of fact that the district is correctly following the guidelines provided. Accordingly, any lesser assaults that do not meet criteria have not been indicated and reported, but would have been addressed pursuant to the district's code of conduct. I invite our community to read the SSEC guidelines and the glossary of terms that they provide. They are currently in the back of the auditorium by the agenda. A concern of several of our new board members has been behavior. In the spring of 2022, the district held a behavior forum for the community and shared all of our current data in real time prior to approval by the state in an effort to be fully transparent. We are happy to reshare that information. Finally, since the start of my leadership, there have been several changes to how behavior is addressed in our district. Processes have been reviewed as a result of the behavior forum, general observations, and professional expertise. The district has engaged in various trainings of administrators, faculty, and staff regarding DASA. DASA reporting, which is Dignity for All Students Act, general care for our students, hearing protocols, and SAVE removals. This year, the district started off the year by collaborating with the Mid-Hudson School Student Council to get specialized training on DASA investigations and subsequent reports for our administrators. The safety of our students remains our highest priority. Thank you. Thank you, he's awesome. For item 5.2, Mr. Ed Forget, our Deputy Superintendent, will be introducing our presenters for the New York State assessment data. It will be a long but good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. So this evening we have a special treat for you. We are going to be presenting the New York State Assessment Analysis. These are the results of the New York State assessments that were taken by our students during the 22-23 school year. So our team is amazing. You don't get a chance to see them. You know, you guys hear about our assistant principals, you hear about our principals, we talk about everything that happens in the schools, but you don't hear about the support system those principals, those assistant principals rely on. So they're not all here tonight, they're all amazing, but for tonight, you're going to hear from our Director of Math, Mr. Al Rotaco. He's going to be presenting the math data, K-8 and the high school regents. We have Maria Pushkanter, who's going to be discussing middle level. We care about middle level so much in this district that we have a director of middle school. We all understand the importance of middle school. We know that our data tells us that when the kids transition from elementary to middle, that's where we're starting to see some regression. We now have talent, and she is ready to dive into those middle schools like you've never seen before. We have Denise Robinson, who's joined us. We've waited a long time for her to come. She's finally here. She's our new Director of English Language Arts. She's going to talk to you about what's happening in literacy and in English Language Arts through the K-12 program, talking about the 3 through 8 assessments as well as the Regents exams. We have Chastity Martinez Morales. She is our Director of World Language and Language Acquisition. Again, she's an amazing talent. She shared with us yesterday a video that brought us all to tears because it's about kids that we're working with, and some of the things that we think we're doing right really is hurting our kids because we don't understand where they're coming from. And we have to understand where they're coming from, not where we came from. So she's shifting our thinking and driving us in a new way, and I hope that you're going to enjoy some of the systems she's putting in place and the PD you're going to hear about, but more importantly, her knowledge of the data, and not just this data, all the data that drives her program. We also have Martha Young. Martha Young is one of 2 instructional coaches that we have in this district. We are a district of almost 12,000 students, and we only have 2 instructional coaches. The National Professional Development Association, Learning Forward, says one of the #1 systems of delivery for professional development would be instructional coaches. Thank God we have Martha, because she's amazing and she's doing a lot of work at the secondary level in our English Language Arts classes. We pushed her into elementary. She walked into those elementary classes saying, what am I going to do here? These kids are awful tiny. But you know what? Those kids ask for her to come back. That's how powerful she is. So we have Martha that's going to talk to you about the work she does in building the capacity of our teachers to do even better than they're doing now. We then have, I think we have Ryan Brady. So I can't wait till you guys hear about our math scores. We have a new math curriculum. We are fortunate to have Al driving the curriculum and the assessment. We have Ryan driving instruction in the classroom side by side with our teachers who knows mostly about our students. So Ryan's in those classrooms, and you guys, I want to hear a lot of clapping when you see those math results. And then, there's David Brown, who's our Director of Planning and Accountability. And David is the one that sits behind the scenes. He doesn't really get to shine with all the talent and the work that he does. And, there are certain people in certain positions that have to do the back work, that have to pull the data, that have to summarize the data, that have to do all that grunt work so that the others can succeed and move us forward. That's what makes this team so powerful. We have David as the behind-the-scenes kind of guy, and he's been tremendous in the work that he does. So I'm going to turn this over to our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary, Middle School, and High School, Mrs. Moriarty, Dr. Farrell, and Dr. Freeman-Mack. Let's go, guys.
Go ahead. So do you guys want to come up to the podium, please?
That's funny. I'm laughing at the little button up here that says push to talk. So, good evening. Let's begin with our nation's data. Thank you. So, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, also known as the Nation's Report Card, was administered in October of 2022. This reading and math assessment includes a representative sample of 4th and 8th grade students from major cities nationwide. So this assessment focuses on literary and informational texts to assess students' reading and comprehension skills. The NAEP also administered a survey to students, and these results found there was a decline from 2019 to 2022. I wonder why. In students' levels of confidence in their reading and knowledge and their skills, it's important to note there was no change in their reading skills. However, NAEP reported in math the largest score decline since 1990 in both grades 4 and 8. I need you to remember that. The nation's report card is showing a decline in about 51 states in math, but not in Newburgh. 33% of 4th graders nationally performed at or above the ELA NAEP proficiency level in 2022. 31% of 8th graders nationally performed at or above ELA NAEP proficiency levels in 2022. You'll see some of these same outcomes as we review our data this evening for ELA. 38% of 8th grade students perform below proficiency in math, according to their NAEP scores. 25% of our 4th grade students nationwide also perform below proficiency in math, according to NAEP scores. 43 states across the nation saw a decline in 4th grade, and 51 states saw a decline in math in 8th grade as well. It's imperative to note our math scores do not show a decline compared to the October 2022 NAEP scores, and this is so relevant as we proceed with this data. This year in Newburgh, 4th grade at Vailsgate, 8th grade at South Middle School, grade 4 at Kidney Avenue School, and our 12th graders at Maine will be participating in the NAEP assessment. We're excited about this opportunity. Slide 2, please. The 2021 and 2022 3-through-8 assessment data, those questions were really interesting because those were what we call refurbished questions, and they were based on the Common Core state standards. This year's data is the first actual year that the questions are aligned to the next gen standards. So the data you're about to see tonight for the assessments for grades 3 through 8 are the next gen standards. So students are now being tested on different standards. That's important because basically we now have a baseline. The data that you're seeing is our new baseline for the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. So it's difficult to compare year 22 and 23. They are uncomparable because the standards are not the same. Being that is given, we will still show the scores from 22 because we made some gains. So we want to share that with you. So as it relates to computer-based testing, Bombville Heritage and New Windsor schools volunteer to participate in computer-based testing. That's a huge thing. We should clap it up for them. We attended some computer-based testing meetings with the state, and the state shared that for those schools that volunteered to participate, they did see some concerns regarding stamina for the typing, because this is grades 3 through 8 that were participating in that. So some students had difficulty doing math and some with typing. So we're aware of that. So tonight in the data, we'll also talk about what we're doing as a district to support those areas also. Also, it's important to note that the assessments in grades 3 through 8 are untimed. What does that mean? It means that students are not timed during that test. When they sit for day 1, they can sit as long as they need to complete it. They can go to the bathroom, take a break, come back, but they can sit. They can't go home and chill out and then come back, but the test is untimed. The same for day 2 as well. Also, it's important to note that there are 5 short responses and 1 extended response, 28 multiple choice questions for the most part. So each constructed response question is worth 2 points. Each extended response is worth 4 points for grades 3 through 8, more or less. The test used to work very differently. We used to focus on the multiple choice for our 3 through 8 assessments, and people thought that's enough, that's good. Unfortunately, the test no longer functions in that manner. The test is now created more holistically. What I mean by that is the multiple choice, the constructed response, and the short response questions, they all kind of work together. So if students only complete the multiple choice and they never complete the short response or the constructed essay, they're probably going to be a level 1 or a level 2. And what's interesting that we've noted within our data is that that's what's happening with our students. They're not completing those short response questions and they're leaving that essay blank. So we already know that that's an area of concern. And what's even more important about that is we don't just see it 3 through 8, we see it 3 through 12 with that 11th grade English Regents class as well. That students, again, are leaving those written components empty. So we're leaving points on the table. So we'll talk about that a little bit tonight, too. As it relates to the 3 through 8 assessments, proficiency is determined by levels, and these levels are determined by the state each year. We do not dictate them, we do not know them, and they change every year. So a level 1 means that a student is below proficiency standards. A level 2, a student is approaching proficiency standards. A level 3, a student is meeting proficiency. And a level 4, a student exceeds the proficiency. So tonight, as we look at the 3 through 8 data, we're going to be showing you the level 3 and 4 analysis. We're going to show you that by grade, and we're also going to provide what we are doing to support those students who are not meeting proficiency in the form of successes and opportunities. So what we will present, we're also going to present some demographic subgroup data related to each assessment, and we will also spot our English language learners. So we will proceed. As we go through this presentation, Dr. Farrell will also come up and introduce the Regents exams, but we're going to start now. Let me see. We can go to slide 3, please. There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Freeman-Mac. So before we begin tonight, we thought it was important to include for the board's reference and the community's reference a glossary of terms. You guys want to turn that mic off for a second? Thank you. because a lot of times we talk in acronyms and it becomes like alphabet soup. So some of them that I just want to point out tonight that we'll reference frequently throughout the presentation are AIS, Academic Intervention Services. We talk about the BOI, MOI, and the EOI. That's beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. We'll talk about NGLS. Those are the next-gen learning standards, which we've moved and shifted toward from the Common Core learning standards. You've heard about the NAEP, and Dr. Freeman-Mac just clearly spoke about level 1, 2, and 3, and 4, which references the 3 through 8 assessments. So there are other terms there for your reference. Also, as a reference, we've included tiered support levels. You hear us talk frequently about Tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 1 instruction is instruction that happens on the grade level to the entire class. Students receive the instruction around the standards for their grade levels. Tier 2 is targeted small group instruction for students who are performing 1 to 2 grade levels below, and typically happens in the classroom. And Tier 3 is for our highest needs students who are struggling on the grade level to get one-to-one or small group, very targeted and specific individual intervention services and instruction. We will now shift into our official data.
Good evening. This slide shows our overall proficiency data for grades 3 through 8 in both ELA and math for levels 3 and 4. And as you can see, we are trending in an upwards direction. This is the breakdown of proficiency in ELA by location for all grades 3 through 5. And similarly, this is a breakdown by location for all grades ELA in grades 6 through 8.
Good evening, everyone. Similar to ELA, this is a breakdown of grades 3 through 5 math proficiency. Again, levels 3 and 4, broken down by location. And here is a slide of 6 through 8 by location.
Next, we will share our data analysis based upon our areas of success, areas of opportunity, and action steps towards continuous progress in ELA and math. This is the breakdown for proficiency level comparison between the years 21-22 and 22-23 school year by demographic subgroups. As you see, some of our demographic subgroups have shown improvement in grades 3 through 5. The data analysis for grades 3 through 5 show that students have improved in their ability to determine the meaning of words in context and identifying parts of a text in figurative language. We continue to support this progress through our core program, coaching, walkthroughs, using Hegarty to target phonics instruction, and providing targeted Tier 3 AIS instructional interventions. Our analysis also showed that students in grades 3 through 5 are still working and demonstrating growth on making connections, explaining ideas, and drawing on information. We continue to use Hegarty and Sonde to support their phonics and phonemic awareness instructional interventions, facilitate grade level PLCs, focus on the core reading program, and provide targeted support for reading instruction.
This is a breakdown of our grades 3 through 5 math proficiency comparison by student demographic subgroup. And we made gains in every subgroup within grades 3 through 5. Yeah. In looking at the 2023 exam, we've looked and identified plenty of areas of successes from the years prior. We did some sustainable actions we are really focusing on utilizing the full 90-minute block in every math class every day within grades 3 to 5. Within that time, we're doing a lot of work on centers, group work, and infusing math games to make math engaging and fun for our students. Additionally, we are piloting, which I'm very excited about, we're piloting a brand-new math program that is extremely rigorous and called iReady Math Classroom. And within there, we support ELs and all student populations by giving everyone opportunities to read, discuss, write, and analyze within math problems. Okay. Last year, early, I came in and did a real analysis, 3 to 12 in this district, and noticed that our students have real difficulties with constructed response questions, questions where they're given and they have to not only answer it, but show why and explain why this is the answer and really demonstrate their knowledge. So we noticed across the board from grades 3 through 12, and 3 through 8, and the Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry regions, that it was pretty much a steady incline on the amount of zeros on average that we're getting on these constructive response questions. In other words, I'll take grade 8, for instance. Grade 8 of the year prior, the 2021 exam, on average, per question, 4 out of 5 of our 8th graders were scoring 0 points. So that immediately, in my mind, led to an access issue. So I said, we need to give access to these kids to these types of rigorous problems. So a big push last year and a big push this year, and probably moving forward, will always be to include these constructive response and really rigorous questions in class daily, weekly, multiple times a week, to give the students the access and see what they're really up against. So that is the main focus that we're doing for pretty much this slide. We have a wonderful math coach, Mr. Ryan Brady, who's doing incredible work with the teachers with an instructional focus. Kudos to you, sir. All right? And IRC, our new pilot, our pilot for the year, we have these digital assessments on every unit and some multiple per unit. The digital assessments are the same, they are common, so teacher and the PLCs, they can compare their data, they can ask each other questions, where are our successes, what did we do well in, what did we not do well in, compare their approaches, and come up with action plans. In addition, this really prepares our students for computer-based testing because a lot of the tools are very similar, and doing math on a computer is a very new concept.
Thank you. This slide shows the comparison on proficiency between 21-22 and 22-23 in grades 6 through 8 in ELA. ELA is an area of need specifically for short and extended response questions, which are based on a 2-point and a 4-point rubric, and that is an area that we will be focusing on, not only in ELA classrooms, but across all content areas, building students' skills in writing to learn and writing to demonstrate their knowledge. In our data analysis, we noted that students have improved on words in context and analyzing parts of a text in relation to the overall text. We will continue to support this growth through common planning time, targeted walkthroughs, instructional coaching, especially with Ms. Young's support, which we have which we will continue to provide professional development, grade level PLCs, and support data-driven instructional practices. Students in grades 6 through 8 also need to further develop their skills in evaluating an argument, analyzing a text, and understanding why an author makes the choices they make and how they develop the text. As the director of middle level, this is what I'm most excited about. And these are skills that are supported throughout all content areas, specifically through informational texts. And so providing professional development, department meetings, supporting data-driven instructional practices. We recently held a professional development with Ms. Young on instructional strategies, as well as one on writing across content areas for all 6-8 teachers in all content areas. Implementing targeted Tier 3 interventions in AIS, meeting with lead teachers, and administrators to review the data, monitor the progress, and ensure that the data-driven support for our middle school teachers demonstrates that progress within ongoing data.
Okay, this is a snapshot of our 6 to 8 proficiency comparison from 22 to 23 across demographic student subgroups, and we made gains in every student subgroup in 6 to 8 as well. Very similar to elementary. I am still going to continue to push the high rigor in every class. The focus on instructional practices within middle are key. And what we're doing with grades 6 through 12, or what I'm doing personally, is targeted PD on areas of concern, and especially with teacher requests. So a lot of teachers will approach me and say, hey, I'd really love PD on this, and I try to work that in wherever we can. This PD can be done either virtually, be done on designated PD days, and we can even do them in PLCs and department meetings. Okay, and the areas of opportunity, again, really pushing the constructive response questions in classes. We did a lot of work last year with master schedule harmonization across the middle levels, where we have an additional ENR block or lab period for every math class every single day. So it's an additional class for students to get the supports that they need that they're not getting in their regular 6, 7, or 8 class. And the IRC, again, with the common digital assessments, math teachers get together, we discuss the common assessment, we come up with the areas of concern, the areas of successes, and we come up with action plans to take action.
Or within the level 3, 4, or 5 tiers in order to pass the exam. On our next slide, you'll see that our students challenge a variety of exams offered by the state, and since August of 2022 through June of 2023, our students have continued to make growth and achieve greater success in the exams. Please note that U.S. history and government was not administered in August and January, and in physics, we had no students challenge the physics exam in August and January, so that data is obviously not available to you. One of the things, as we move into the discussion of strengths and opportunities and challenges, you'll note that the challenges that our Regents and 9th through 12th grade students face are very similar to those that are presented to you in 3 through 8, particularly in the area of written constructive response. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This slide reflects our ELA data for our 11th grade Regents exam. That test consists of multiple choice and extended response essays. Can't hear me? Okay. Hi, this slide reflects our Regents exams across demographic subgroups. We can see that most of our subgroups made some gains. We are still working to increase all of our subgroups to make gains. So our Regents data analyst is similar to what has been said several times. Our data shows that in our elementary schools, all the way up, that our children have mastered or really maximized the opportunity to answer the multiple choice portion of the exam. Our students are capable of identifying different points of view and story elements. We have made gains in the multiple choice section with an increase of over 12 points in our Regents exam scores. To sustain this growth, we will continue with some of the programs that we are using currently in the high school, such as Rock the Regents on Saturdays, our summer school Regents prep. Also, I do want to highlight once again our wonderful instructional coach, Martha, who works with our high school teachers to foster ELA and ENL best teaching strategies and practices. We, of course, have opportunities for success. Our students are actually missing opportunities to get full credit on the exam because they are leaving a portion of the exam uncompleted. They are not completing the second extended response. Our data has shown that only 1/3 of the students who took the exam actually completed the second extended response question. So we know that we have to work really hard to build our student stamina. We know that we have to work really hard to help them look at multiple texts and be able to use a critical lens to apply those texts into their writing. Our areas of opportunities are to support our students with writing across all subject areas, to make sure that they have opportunity to actually look at passages and use a critical lens to explain and answer them. We are building vocabulary with our English department, so we are one band, one sound. I am personally focusing on working with Al to make sure that our extended response, how we tackle them, is the same way. So they see it in math, they see it in English, they see it in science, they see it in social studies, and we kind of start to sound like I sound like you sound like me, we sound like us. And when we get to the Regents exam, we can build that stamina, we can get our children to maximize the points that they need, and we can make significant gains.
Okay, this slide is demonstrating all math Regents proficiency comparison. Now, all math Regents being Algebra 1, which can be taken in 8th grade, Algebra 2, well, let me go in order. Algebra 1, which can be taken as low as 8th grade, then Geometry, and then Algebra 2. So this reflects 3 Regents exams. Across all student demographic groups, we had more gains. So. I broke this down by individual, and there's gains across individually of all. Algebra 1 gains, Geometry gains, Algebra 2 gains, broken down for you from 22 to 23 there too. And again, the student subgroup demographic, I'm going to break down each one individually. For Algebra 1, gains across all student, this is by location. We had gains across all locations that take Algebra 1. Keep in mind, Algebra 1 has, all of our middle schools offer at least one class of Algebra 1 Regents where students take it. So gains in every building except for Meadow Hill and Temple, which has 100% year 2 in a row. Meadow having 21 kids, Meadow and Temple actually the same, 21 kids for 22 and 22 kids for 23. Algebra Region student demographics, gains across all. Geometry, gains across all except for white students. Algebra 2. Across all student demographics, we have gains except for English language learners, which I will invite Dr. Beto to comment.
Good evening. We want to point out the 0% represents 13 L's in 2022 and 4 L's in 2023, who, although Algebra 2 is not a required exam to earn a Regents diploma, although our L's unfortunately didn't score between levels 3 and 5, we have to commend them because they were willing to challenge a high-level math course.
My apologies. Can we go back 2 slides to the geometry slide? Okay, geometry, in my opinion, is the hardest exam in high school. I was a geometry teacher, so I'm a little biased towards it, but it's not a class about shapes, like I always say. But so one of the biggest concerns that were brought to my attention all year last year from my from my geometry teachers and from counselors is that students are entering geometry with foundational gaps, and they don't feel that they're ready for that type of class. For the most part, it might be true, and I'm attributing that. We're looking into why we had some dips here, but it could very much be attributed to the COVID exemplars, the exceptions, what was the word, French? Yeah. When the student passed the class, they get the exception as long as they hit the 50 on the algebra regents, and they're automatically placed into a geometry class, where the data gets skewed for counselors when they're placing students into this class because it's a regents that's technically passed. So that could be one of the reasons for that, but we're diving into that to find out why. Thank you for going back. Okay. Very similar with 6 through 8. We'll continue to push high rigor in high school. I work with my leads and my math teams very closely on what their biggest challenges are and what's working and what's not, and how we can really improve everything that we're doing. And pushing the high rigor is a priority of mine, as always. Again, focus on instructional practices. If we get solid instructional practices, we will have solid instruction, therefore we will gain outcomes. Again, targeted PD and teacher request PDs that we're doing. Last year and this year, I did 2 with targeted based on standards-based question leveling, which basically says, this is the next generation standard. This is what our students are up against. This is where we're going to teach. However, they're coming in here. How do you scaffold students here to get them to this level? Let's not leave early. Let's leave where we're supposed to or even beyond. So that was what that PD was on, and I just completed one with the essential components of teaching mathematics, which goes into depth on where we put our value of time within a math class and what is the most appropriate for students and where can we get the biggest bang for our buck when we have our students for only 43 minutes or so. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, areas of opportunity. Again, with constructive response questions. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but this is something I will always push. Master schedule harmonization, we've done at the high school level too, where every algebra class has an E&R period or a lab period, if you will, every other day to support the kids who need additional help with algebra at the time to really get them to pass that exam. And the quarterly common assessments, teacher-made, standards-based. We all get together, we talk about it, we come up with action plans based on what we need. And I did fail to mention before that all 3 Regents exams in high school for mathematics, only one is needed for a Regents diploma. All 3 will get you part of an advanced Regents diploma. It's a small subset of kids, but students do not need to pass all 3 Regents. You only need 1 to graduate from high school. So for the most part, that's Algebra 1 for the vast majority of students.
Our English language learners.
Turn that mic off, I forget. Thank you.
Our English language learners are a very diverse group of students. It is very easy for folks to say that our largest group is comprised of Latinos and Hispanic students. However, we represent, and our students represent, an enormous array of language capabilities and experiences. I'd like to bring your attention to some of the definitions when we talk about our English language learners, and in particular, our newcomers. Newcomers are defined as students who have been in our schools for 3 years or less and are English language learners. It's important to note that these students often come into our schools as adolescents who have had severely interrupted formal education backgrounds. So they have not only language deficits, but they have not had formal education and what we would consider schooling coming into the system here in New York State. Also, our FELLs, our FELs. These are our former English language learners. Those are students who have been identified as an English language learner, but who has exited English language learner status within the past 2 school years. After 2 years, a former L will be referred to as an ever L. This group of students, our FELs and our newcomers, comprise 20% of all the English language learners in our district.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Before sharing some state assessment data, we would like to present an update on our ELS enrollment and demographics. Last year, we welcomed 507 newcomers, 89 in middle school, 125 in the high school. That means 40% of our newcomers last year were enrolled at the secondary level. Additionally, about 60% of our newcomers were enrolled in testing grades 3 to 12. This year, as of October, we have welcomed 379 newcomers, 47 in middle school, 59 in the high school. That's about 30% of our newcomers so far this year enrolled in secondary, and about 45% enrolled in testing grades 3 to 12. This is our current L enrollment. 17% of our total student population are English language learners. In addition, we have 3% who are former Ls. That makes 20% of our total NECSD student population receiving L services. This is the home languages of our current English language learners. We see that 96% of our Ls are Spanish speakers, followed by Arabic, French Creole, Vietnamese, Chinese, French, and English Creole. We also have other home languages represented by our non-Ls in the district. That includes German, Filipino, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Ukrainian, among others. This is the percentage of proficient students according to the NICESLA. These are the students who score commanding. In 2022, we had an overall 10%, which was a 2% increase from the previous year. And in 2023, we had an additional 2% with a 12% of our Ls scoring commanding on the NICESLA. This is our NICESLA data broken down by proficiency level. And as you can see, it shows how our students have moved up at least one proficiency level. This is our overall ELA and math data. And for L specifically, we see that in 22 and 23, it remained at 6% for ELA. For math, Ls had a 6% increase in students who score proficient. For former Ls, we see that the percentage of former Ls that score proficient is higher than the all student category. Yes. This is our ELA data by grade level. We see that third grade is the grade level with the highest percentage of Ls scoring proficient. We also see that the percentage of proficient students decreases as the grade level increases. We have to keep in mind that most of our newcomers are enrolled at the secondary level. Right. We also like to point out that with the exception of 8th grade, our former L's percentage of proficient students is also higher in every grade level than all students category. This is our math data. Similarly to ELA, third grade is the grade with the highest percentage of proficient students, and the percentage of proficient students also decreases as the grade level increases. And consistent with ELA, for the exception of 8th grade, former L's proficient students are higher than the all students category. This is our English regions data. Although for all students category, district-wide, we went down by 2%, L's increased by 3%, and former L's increased by a lot. I can't calculate that, right? But yes, 14. It's about 14%. Next slide, please. For Algebra 1, we see that our L's almost double the percentage of proficient students for Algebra 1, and also former L's stands at a 66% higher than the all students category. For living environment. In living environment, when it decreased for all students and for ELs, and it remained the same at 40%. For earth science, although the percentage of proficient students increased for the L students category, it did decrease for Ls and former Ls. And for global history, the percentage of proficient students decreased in all students categories. So in order to provide support to the large number of newcomers that we have received, our district has implemented the following areas of support. Last year, we visited a newcomer program at East Ramapo, where we wanted to learn about some of those success and challenges that they were experiencing by implementing a newcomer program. We also wanted to learn how we can implement some of those support here in Newburgh. We also added 6-period classes at the secondary level in order to better accommodate the scheduling of the large influx of newcomers. We hired additional bilingual certified staff for South Middle School. Can we please clap for that, please? We reallocated ENL and bilingual certified staff based on the analysis of building needs. We are embedding L-specific strategies in our district-wide PD, and in addition to the different programs that we offer after school, Saturday, and summer school. Now, some areas of opportunities that we have for our students. In collaboration with the Hudson Valley Auburn and SUNY New Paltz, this year we started a Grow Your Own teaching pathway for students interested in becoming teachers, especially bilingual students and other areas of shortage. Currently, our 10th graders are taking an elective course called Intro to Teaching. And in 11th and 12th grades, our students will have the opportunity to take dual enrollment courses and earn college credits. For the New York State Seal of Biliteracy, we continue to increase the numbers of New York State Seal of Biliteracy recipients. Last year, we had over 75 seniors who earned the seal. That included 8 Ls and 30 former Ls. Thank you, thank you. This is a picture of our celebration last year, where many of those seniors were my former 3rd grade students, and I had the opportunity to celebrate that accomplishment with them. Yeah. One more. If you please go back, one more point of celebration. We have to commend NFA because for 2023, we were the high school with the largest number of seal recipients in the Hudson Valley. Thank you. And finally, Pride Light. We currently hold a quarter of the seats of the 96 student delegates of the Hudson Valley Pride Light. That includes 4 Ls and 12 former Ls. Pride Light stands for the Puerto Rican Hispanic Youth Leadership Institute. This is a free leadership program where the selected seniors and juniors are currently working in preparing their arguments, either against or in favor of current potential bills. 50 out of these 96 students will be selected in spring to represent the Hudson Valley in Albany at the New York State Assembly Chambers, where they will pose as New York State legislators and present their arguments. That concludes my items. Thank you.
I'm excited. So when we talk about our commitments at the elementary level, the middle level, and the high school level, one of our biggest focuses is exposure. What does that mean? Exposure is really talking about providing access and entry points for every single one of our students to the rigor of the assessments across all grade levels. It's imperative. Our students have to be exposed and understand what are on these assessments, because it's just paper, and they're so much more important than just that paper. But these assessments also help prepare them for college and life afterwards. As it relates to higher order thinking questions, we need questions that force students to think critically about the text. So that's an area of professional development that we will continue to provide for all of our teachers, K-12. Also, We have to provide an understanding of the rubrics for every single assessment, for every single exam. What does that mean? It means like permitting students to score their own common assessments. Allow them to have conversations about what they see in their responses. Was their essay accurate? Was their short response question evidence-based? What supports did they put in that when they were answering the question? And did it make sense? If students can self-assess with a peer, then guess what they're doing? They're being reflective and looking at what they wrote and how it made sense. If they can explain it to one another, they have no issue answering on any assessment. Also, we have to expose students to the stamina of the assessments to reduce anxiety. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm taking an assessment, everything goes out of my brain. And I mean everything. Like I focus, the paper just looks like mush. But with our kids now, they're doing computer-based testing. So they're sitting in front of that screen and they've got to be able to access that. When we allow them to be exposed and have their own access, God bless you, and entry points, it allows, God bless you, it allows students to minimize that anxiety and to be totally focused on what they need to commit and what they need to complete. Increasing the stamina in on-demand writing is imperative. On-demand writing is when you walk into that classroom or there's an assessment, there's no writing process that's occurred, but a student is just supposed to produce an essay or a critical lens or a literary analysis based on what they've read. So that on-demand writing is imperative. How do we make sure that students know what needs to be included in that on-demand writing? So that's another thing another area, that we are committed to. And in terms of examining our instructional strategies, what are our teachers using? Are we making sure that we're arming them in their toolkit? How are they performing in the classroom with students? How do our instructional strategies look? Are we making sure that students are facilitating parts of the lesson, that we're breaking them up into groups, and that students are able to talk about in dialogue? And how are we checking for understanding throughout that instruction as students are learning? How are we assessing that they've got it and we know that they got it? And how are we creating student engagement opportunities that are evidence-based? Are we seeing accountable talk in our classrooms? So professional development that is ongoing in our district is our commitment. And all of that has to be done with the one thing that's imperative: data-driven instruction. We have to have that. If we can't use the data to guide what it is we are doing, then we fail our students. If we can't use our data so that kids understand how they performed and how they didn't perform, then we fail our students. And I don't know if you've noticed tonight, we're not failing our students. Thank you.
You can't leave yet. I just, in case I don't get back on the microphone, I just wanted to thank you all for your commitment and your work. We are extremely grateful to have you. Clearly, this work that you're doing with our faculty, our staff, we can see the results, the fruits of your labor, and I thank you for your commitment to our students and to our district. I know it's been a really long presentation. Board members, I will ask that if we could limit our questions maybe to 10 minutes or so. And if we have additional questions, I'll ask that if you email them to me, then we will provide a response. If you actually prefer those questions that are emailed to me, I can certainly share the responses with the community on the district website if that's something that you wish to have. If we don't have enough time for responses today, I want to make sure that we're completely transparent, and I don't want to cut anyone off. So if we can allot in essence of time to get everyone out, 10 minutes, and then if there are additional questions, please email them to me, Mr. Stridiron, and then we will post them for the community. Thank you.
Board members, do you have any questions? Mr. Levenstein and Ms. Boulay and Mr. Howard.
Well, I'm not going to ask any questions here, but I want to thank Dr. Manning Campbell and Mr. Forget for the gains that this district has gotten. And I want to thank you for introducing these people that make it happen, that support our building, support our staff. Thank you very much, and we can see they know what they're doing and are helping us to guide us to a better place. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deb Boulay. I've retired a little over a year. I only know two of you up there, though, which I find quite interesting. So thank you, Chastity and Martha, personally. And for the rest of you, I applaud your work. Math, I taught grades 6, 7, 8, and I taught 9th grade integrated algebra, and I taught English 9, 10, 11, 12, and had that English Regents in 11th grade. So those math results are I spent hours looking at these results over the weekend, and those math results are incredible. Especially, I want to applaud you because having taught middle and high school, that middle level, it's as if those students are from another planet sometimes, as we all know, and every subgroup at that middle level has increased. That is phenomenal. So I say thank you for what you're doing. And in regard to the English, you know, even if we take into account you have 8th grade, you know, eight-year-old kids doing keyboarding and they don't know how to keyboard, you would think that the results would have been worse than what they show up. So, you know, it's just phenomenal what we're doing. The one group I do want to talk about is the students with disabilities. I taught regular ed and students with disabilities all those years, so I'm very familiar. Many times you would have, you as teachers, us as teachers, would have students with disability classes that are filled with L's, and it's very difficult to discern between, is it a language problem, is it a disability problem, and we never really talk about that out loud. So I just wanted to point out for you, Chastity, to have those results under those conditions is really, really great. I just have really just two quick ones. Not for an answer now. So we're at 34% proficiency in ELA and 63 roughly in math, so that's like a 66, 64% AIS tag. So I just wanted to point out that that's a large percentage, and that I'm sure that the district will follow through to get that covered. The other thing that I was just curious about, again, you would not have the answers to these, but I am curious about, you know, the services that are within different buildings. Like if you look at, and again, I'm only talking ELA here, but in ELA, like which buildings have, you know, pupil services that are different than the rest. So we're looking at equity there. And also absenteeism, where does it fit in? You know, level 1s and level 2s is chronic, you know, how many of those students have chronic absenteeism, so that of course we would tackle that in conjunction with everything else that it is that you're doing. So I just wanted to again say thank you. If I was allowed, I would come and kiss you. So, but I'm not, so there you go. Thank
Mr.
you.
Howard.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, first of all, I just want to say, incredible report. As we sit around, long anticipated, we've heard so many negative things. They rip us apart on social media. They rip us apart in the newspapers. They rip us apart on the news. But you know what? We're getting the work done. We're getting the work done. And like I like to say, men lie, women lie. The numbers don't lie. The numbers... The numbers show that we are getting the work done. Yes, we have some areas where we can get better. We have some areas where we can get a lot better. But guess what? They're doing the work. They're doing the work, and they should be commended. To our scholars, to our teachers, to our administrators, central office, the superintendent, they are working. They're getting the job done. And that's what I'll leave you with something in regards to this report, but more importantly, how we should need to start thinking as a district, as a community, as a school board, as a district. Progress lies not in enhancing what it is, but in advancing towards what will be. Progress is not an illusion. It happens, but it is slow and invariably disappointing. The secret of making progress is to get started. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And on behalf for our students in this district, that we must ensure that they reach a level of proficiency so that when they leave us and they cross the academy field, they can be productive citizens in society. This work must continue. And I will say this, we do need to do better with our black boys and our black girls and our children of color. Because if we fail to admit they're at the lower end of the totem pole, we're lying to ourselves. Because when we fix that subgroup, this whole district will soar. And with the work that we're having put in place, the work that's being done, the work that we are here fighting for every day on behalf of our scholars, it has to continue. And people need to stop picking on Newburgh. And it's not just outsiders, it's insiders that are doing it. You need to stop it, pay attention to the work, celebrate our teachers, celebrate our students, celebrate our administrators, and celebrate the greatness that we have in the Newburgh and Lawrence City School District. Thank you.
Mr. Lamar?
Yeah, I want to agree with everything they've said. I mean, this is a wonderful presentation. But one thing that was brought up earlier was the fact that the elementary is now having to do the electronic testing, and the 3 schools that took that on to start there were understandably some drops, and I'm just concerned that we're going to be seeing that as we move forward with the other schools starting that. And I don't know there's going to be a process, something in place that's going to help them and have them prepared for like a keyboarding training, or I've said it many times before, I would love to have computer science back in elementary schools as a special. I don't think it should have been taken out because it's available in other districts, and I think our kids deserve to have it. But for this conversation, at the very least, we really need to have some keyboarding training of some kind, because we shouldn't have to have these kids sort of every year, you know, getting a little better at this. Let's get them where they're capable to do the tasks being asked of them.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. And yes, we are aware, and that is one area that we've identified. And just this past Superintendent's Conference Day, we rolled out some professional development, and we have the keyboarding coming for all students, because we will be implementing computer-based testing in all grades 3 through 8 this year. Do you want to add anything to that?
I just also want the board to know that that was a part of the Learning Technology Grant that's being facilitated by Dr. Brancato. We have been working in trying to make sure that we do have a typing curriculum, because I think we know that typing, especially when it comes to written language, it's a different flow, it's a different set of skills that we have to build in our students. So it's something that we're also going to be working with the Curriculum Instruction Department to make sure that it's embedded and that all students receive this service.
Mr. DeRay?
Believe it or not, sometimes the job can seem rather thankless. And then you have an evening like this. Dr. Manning Campbell, all of you folks across the table, and especially you guys down there. You're the ones that make it happen. Really a fantastic presentation, a wonderful evening, and I'm so proud to be here and so proud to be part of this district. I cheerlead the district wherever I go, because people will, as Mr. Howard said, might tear it down. So many good things here. So thank you, everyone. Very appreciated.
Yes, and very encouraging results, and we look forward to the next presentation when you come back and do the presentation on the in-district testing. We're going to get a follow-up on that with the, the 3 times a year assessment. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think I have another one. Okay. No more presentations. I have items 5.3 through 5.5, which will be presented to you as consent items for your consideration.
Would any board member like to separate out any of these items? Can I have a second and a motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
All right. Thank you. That concludes my items for this evening. You guys are actually free to go if you want to leave now during this time. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that's it. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell.
You're welcome.
Right now, we have item 6, Clerk of the Board, Ms. Novotny.
Thank you. I have the approval of minutes from October 24, 23 regular meeting and September 12, 2023 executive session minutes.
We're going to separate out these two items as separate votes. Can I have a motion and a second on item 6.1, approval of the minutes, October 24th, 2023 regular meeting?
So moved. Second.
Any questions on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay? Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Item 6.2, approval of the executive session minutes, September 12th, 2023. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item? I have a question on this item. I have to abstain on this one since I used the executive session minutes in a legal filing. I do have a question whether or not two other board members who have an affidavit using that same item can vote on this because a yes or a no vote would change their use of the affidavit. So can we have an opinion from our attorney, Mr. Shaw, on that?
The issue before the board is the accuracy of the minutes that are being presented for a vote, and that's all that's there.
So as I said, I'll be voting to abstain because personally, this is 2 months after the fact. I don't even think that two of the items that are in the actual votes are what I voted, and I don't recall what other people voted on for those specific votes. Do we have a process in the future so that when we do vote on 3028 charges that we can get this vote within the 5-day or 1-week period? Is there a process that needs to be set up by the board as a policy, or is it just an automatic vote 5 days later?
There isn't anything automatic. Certainly by policy, you can create greater restrictions.
Okay. We're on item 6.2, Ms. Boulay, the executive session minutes. Any other board member have any questions on this item or anything to say? Okay. Roll call on item 6.2.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
Abstain.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
Abstain.
Ms. Boulay?
No.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Yes. 5 yeses.
Item is passed.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Novotny. Move on to item 7, Board President, 7.1, President's Update. Between the last meeting and this one, several of the board members visited and attended events at schools. I know that there was a large board member present at the play for Peter and the Star Catcher, the Books and Breakfast at NFA Maine. There was a family science night at Fostertown School, and then there was an event at the Showtime Cinemas for the Right to Read movie. I'd like to thank the NAACP for sponsoring that event. I found it to be very enlightening And I believe that movie needs to be shown to more parents in the Newburgh School District. There is an event coming up tomorrow at the Newburgh Armory. It's Know Your Parental Rights workshops. It's put on by the same organization that had the right to read. So that's at 6 p.m. tomorrow at the Newburgh Armory for special education students. But know your parental rights. And that concludes the item for President's update. We have, these are not consent items. These are consent? They're separate votes. I would like to separate out 7.1 and 7.2 and 7.3. Always. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So the item 7.2, resolution to approve board members' committee assignments 2023-24. Can I have a motion and a second to add to?
Resolutions.
It'll come up right after it's approved to be on the agenda.
Just tell him what.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, 7.2 is right there.
7.2.
Okay.
So he comes up right there. Thank you.
Can I have a motion and a second on that?
Motion.
I'm sorry, you have to repeat that.
Deb's motion. Okay, Mr. Lamar is second. So before we get into the discussion on this item, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you go, just wait. Good.
So that's the item to be voted on. I just wanted to get clarification from Mr. Shaw on the policy itself that it was amended, I believe it was 2 meetings ago. The policy reads, let me see if it's here. Can we bring that policy up? There was a change to the policy where it allows the board members to vote on the approval of these committees. 2250. Yeah, it's there. Let's see. It's is that the revised one? That's not revised. Yeah, it's not updated on board docs then.
Because Margaret never gave us the final.
Okay. The new policy added that the board quorum will approve the committee assignments that are appointed by the president. I just want to make sure that the presentation tonight that's on there is one item to be voted on, and that any changes to the assignments would be in violation of the policy itself, because then the board president wouldn't be appointing the committee members. It would just be the full board. It would not be the board president anymore. Mr. Howard.
Yes, I disagree with that. Once a motion is put on the floor, it doesn't belong to the individual, it belongs to the body. And if a motion can be amended, once it's a motion, it can be amended. So I don't necessarily agree with what you just said, and we can get a ruling on that from legal if you want.
That's why I'm asking Mr. Shaw to give a ruling on that, because if the board members can change the appointments as a amendment to a resolution, then the policy itself is not being followed because then the board president is not making the appointments. It's the full board. So I just want to get a ruling on that before we move forward.
So policy will govern, and the question is, what is the policy right now? Is it present in the room? I don't have, Mr. Stridarn was talking about a new policy that was adopted. I don't have text in front of me.
Okay, but my question is, does it state in the policy that the resolution cannot be amended?
A resolution can be amended with a motion and a second. A resolution could be tabled with a motion and a second.
I'm asking this, the policy itself says that the board president, the committee members will be appointed by the board president. And then it says, approved by the quorum of the board.
Okay.
So if it's amended, then the board president, the committee members are not really appointed by the board president. That would change the whole spirit of the policy.
So the policy that I was just presented with now literally says that the president appoints the members with the approval of the board. Language is a little awkward. It doesn't, for example, say the board president presents a board member for a committee and then the board approves. This says that the committee members will be appointed by the board president with the approval of a quorum of the board. So the ambiguity to me is, who does the presentment of the committee members? Is it the quorum of the board, or is it the president who presents and then the board approves or doesn't approve? And now what's today's activity?
Today's activity is I'm presenting the committee members' appointments in anticipation of a board vote on those items, up or down, yes or no.
Okay, so you're reading the policy to mean you're the one who's presenting for the approval of the quorum particular members to be on the committee, right?
Yes.
And then there was also something last time about adding members of the community to the committees in a certain way, and where's that?
That's a separate vote. That's not, there's
That's
two
not
separate.
part of this?
No. It's not part of this resolution. It's the next resolution.
Okay, so the question for the board is that the interpretation presented by the president is that the president will present one or more, well, two or more board members for committees, and then a quorum of the board, at least 5 board members, would have to approve of who's being presented, and if that approval doesn't come, then there aren't these committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. So if you can bring up the committee appointments. I did take into consideration some of the suggestions at the last meeting. I did make one change. It's regarding personnel. I put Mr. Howard on the Personnel Committee. I know the suggestion was to put him on the Policy Committee as the chair, but in light of the ongoing human rights investigation done by the Division of Human Rights into a violation of a policy, I don't, as the person who appoints of a committee, I cannot put that person in charge of the Policy Committee. The other change that was suggested was to remove Ms. Boulay as the Personnel Chair because there was an assertion that there was some kind of illegal action, and that would disqualify possibly Ms. Boulay from being the personnel chair. The reality is there is a human rights claim that was put in. The human rights.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Stradine. I don't know if this is for the public. Mr. Shaw, should this be something? I think this is where we were the last time. I don't know if this is what we should do in public.
My opinion, it's ill-advised to have that conversation in public. Usually we discuss litigation in executive session, and we're concerned about contingent liability for the district.
But it's already been discussed.
I'll sanitize the version. Basically, the people that were presented to be switched around, in my opinion, I can't make those changes based on situations that are occurring. So the committee structure as is, I would like it to be voted on. As is.
Okay.
Can I have a motion and a second, or if there's any more discussion? Mr. Levinstein.
So, Mr. Shaw, you answered what you believe Mr. Stridine's interpretation of the policy is. You didn't answer what Mr. Howard's interpretation feels the interpretation of the policy, meaning if I would ask to amend this policy, would that be allowed?
Policy or
Resolution. I'm sorry, to amend this resolution. Would that be allowed? You specifically said that it was.
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Stridine.
you could amend a resolution, and I would like to just point out that there was a discussion had publicly just now regarding Board Member Howard, and there's no proof of violation of law as of yet by him. People get sued all the time around here. So that.
But he can impugn my character like that publicly.
Yeah, I just wanted
that was
to
ridiculous.
point out that if
No,
there was any
there's a
negative,
current legal action, but it's
if
not a
there was
lawsuit.
any negativity cast upon him based upon your comment, it's misplaced and inappropriate.
So,
No
Ms.
negativity implied from Mr. Howard. I was specifically responding to the assertion that someone could be removed from a committee for making a complaint to a state division of human rights. And I cannot do that because it would be a retaliatory act, according to that.
That couldn't have been done in executive session?
What's that?
That couldn't have been done in executive session?
The information that was brought out at the last meeting was that there was a lawsuit and that person needed to be removed, and I was explaining why that I couldn't do that.
Mr. President, so
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to amend this resolution. And the resolution, I'll pass this around, is for the following changes to the committees. Policy Committee, Chair, Mr. Howard, Co-Chair, Mr. Bergarelli, Ms. Politi.
Can you please repeat that? I'm just going to write down.
Do you got a copy right coming to you? Policy, Chair, Mr. Howard, Co-Chair, Mr. Bergarelli, and Member, Ms. Politi. Personnel, Chair, Mr. Levinstein, Co-Chair, Ms. Politi, Member, Ms. Green. Audit and Finance, Chair, Mr. Doré, Co-Chair, Mr. Lamar, Committee Member, Ms. Boulay. Library, Chair, Mr. Bergarelli, Co-Chair, Ms. Boulay, and Member, Mr. Howard. So I make a motion to amend the resolution to have these board members be installed on the committees. So
I'd
someone
like
needs a
to
second.
ask for an executive session for the board to receive legal advice over this matter.
I have a motion and a second to go to executive session.
So move.
Roll call.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Stridian?
Yes, we'll return in 10 minutes. Roll call to vote.
Ms. Boulay?
What are we voting on?
7.2.
We're voting on 7.2 committee assignments as
Which
written,
list?
the one that the board president created.
The one that you did.
Yes.
So that would be a yes then for me.
Mr. Bergarelli?
No.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard?
No.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
No.
Ms. Paletti?
No.
Mr. Stridian?
Yes.
Did not pass.
Okay, that item did not pass. We go to 7.3, resolution to approve community members committee assignments 23-24. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item? If you can bring that up on the screen, that'd be great. Mr. Howard?
Yes, so at our last meeting, we talked about individuals being added to these committees, and you asked me to reach out to the Newburgh Ministerial Fellowship. Their meeting, there was some back and forth, and when they asked me about the committee, I really couldn't explain it to them, but what they are doing, and they wanted me to pass on to you, they have their monthly meeting this Saturday, and they've invited you to come and explain what you want from them, 9 a.m. at the House of Cathedral on Broadway. So they will have their meeting, and you can present to them your invitation to them. I didn't know how to explain it to them, so I just said, they said, well, we would rather have that from your board, from the president on the board, so.
I would be happy to go. 9 a.m., House of Cathedral, Broadway. All right. Thank you, Mr. Howard. And if there are any other community members or organizations that the board members come in contact with or the superintendent, I'd be happy to entertain them joining the process. Any other questions on this item? Mr. Levinstein.
So I'm all for having community members involved and different stakeholders. My only thing is I would prefer us to have guidelines, rules, limits. We need to have an objective in place. We need all those in place before we just say, you had said, well, we can see how it works out or what it needs. I don't think we should be acting in that fashion. I think we should say, oh, we're going to have a limit of 5 organizations or 10, whatever you decide.
By the next meeting, we'll have a list and a procedural. It'll be similar to the regular board meeting rules, and we'll tweak it to committees. Mr. Howard.
It's been over a month now, over a month that this was initially presented to the board, and the same questions, and you gave the same answers. The next meeting will have information. We will have a discussion. We will talk about it, and we have yet to do that. You just said right now, next meeting. So it's hard for us to vote on something that we don't know how it's going to work. We don't know what the procedures will be. We don't know what the model is. We don't know what we're voting on.
The procedures are any other committee meeting that you have, the rules of decorum, the rules of being recognized by the chair. It's the same rules. You just have a member of the community or a member of the organization that's represented being part of the discussion.
So how many members of the community are on each committee?
Well, right now we have the list that's provided to us.
That's it?
Well, that's what we have right now, but it's a fluid, open committee. I don't see the problem with having an open discussion and an open invitation to people to come and go. Some of these people may come and go.
But I agree with you having a discussion, have open discussions, but you know how board meetings and board committees go now. So are we saying that it's going to be a 2-hour meeting? Because right now they're hour, and we normally go over. So now we're adding members. Are we limiting when they can speak, or is it going to be an open discussion?
It's going to be run by the chair of the committee, and if they realize that the situation is, if the people are asking the same questions over and over, just like any other meeting, they'll say, please submit your questions. We will get you the answers. But the voting members of the committee are going to have to take the consideration of the community members' questions and say, you know what, maybe we need to come revisit this item. It's going to be a different process, that's true, but I believe it's going to work for the betterment of the students and the staff and the district as a whole. Did anybody else have their hand up? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stradiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
No.
Mr. Duray?
No.
Mr. Howard?
No.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
No.
Ms. Paletti?
No.
Did not pass.
Those are my agenda items for tonight. Item 8.1 through 8.24, Mr. McLemore, actually, Ms. Limer, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
So this evening, as you just said, Mr. President, we have items 8.1 through 8.24 for your consideration.
Would any board member like to pull any of these items out?
The 24 one, yeah.
Ms. Boulay?
8.22 and 8.24, please.
Any other items? Can we have a motion and a second for 8.1 through 8.23 minus 8.22? Why is it 8.23? Yeah, I said 8.1 through 8.23 minus 8.22. Discussion on these items? Mr. Levinstein.
I have a couple of questions on 8.14 and 8.15, please. 8.14 is creating a rather large stipend for someone doing work. So my question on that particular one is the expectation that these responsibilities will be given to an existing employee to be performed outside of their current hours?
Mr. Forge.
That is correct, Mr. Levinstein.
Okay.
This is a stipend for an existing employee.
Okay. You want 8.14? No. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So 8.15, please. That resolution is to create a New York Gear Up coordinator, temporary position. So a couple of questions on this. The strategies and benefits to students by creating this position or program. I'm not clear on the resolution if it's one or two positions. I see that it's grant funded, but it's also marked temporary, but a 6-year position. So I just wanted some clarification on that, please.
Absolutely. So Gear Up stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs. So the Gear Up grant dropped in April of last year. It started with our 7th grade students across all 4 of our buildings. It will continue actually until year 1 of college for them. So it's focusing on college and career readiness by providing tutoring support, after-school supports, exposing students to college life, visiting college campuses, supporting them with organizational skills, financial aid. It involves parents as well as every single 8th grader, and it follows them year after year after year, from 7th grade all the way up till the first year of college. The site administrators this year will support supporting all of the eighth grade cohort, for lack of a better way to say it, in each one of our buildings. The coordinator of the program is something that is mandated by New York State Gear Up, so we have to provide that. The reason why it's a temporary position is because it is a grant-funded position. We do not want to create opportunities that we cannot put into our general fund. So they are grant-funded opportunities, and we do have to have these administrative levels within that grant to suffice it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, thank you. So just to make it a little more clear, it's only one grade. It's a group of 900 kids that's following them for the 6-7 years. We're not adding new 7th graders to it.
No, sir. Okay. So everyone that's in 8th grade now, and they move to 9th grade, and then 10th grade, then 11th grade, then 12th grade. It really is an excellent program, and I think the hope really is that we will see an increase in our graduation rates because it's supporting that success as well.
Mr. Howard.
Thank you.
May I just say one additional thing with that? I don't want to misrepresent numbers, but I believe that only 6 districts across the state received this grant. So we are fortunate out of the approximate 800 districts in the state, Newburgh is one of the 6 selected.
Ms. Slimer? Sorry. I think Ms. Slimer wanted to add something to that.
I think the resolution could have been done a little bit clearer. The New York Gear Up site administrators, they're not like positions, they're like stipends for building administrators. It should have read differently than it does, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Howard.
Yes, I think this is an incredible program, and I'm excited about it. But I got some concerns, and I guess my concerns is always, who we're leaving behind. It's I love the idea. I love the college-going culture. I love the fact that we're digging down, starting in the middle school areas, because a lot of kids just don't understand the importance of secondary education after they get out of high school. And when you start early, it starts a vibe. It starts a buzz, as the kids say. And I guess my biggest question is this. This is an incredible program, and we started with 7th graders. So other kids are going to see how great this program is along the way. And I know since it's a grant, it's written specifically how it can be used, but do we have any plans as a district to help those kids who didn't bite in on it as a 7th grader, but as they become a 9th grader or 10th grader and they see the results of the program, they see how powerful this program is, they see the things that are happening with this program, is there any way that we can try to fold them in? I know it's a grant, and grants you have to be age specific, but are we as a district able to put something in place for those kids who maybe a 9th grader said, damn, I wish I would have did this as a 7th grader. I wish I would have did this as an 8th grader. And because it sounds to me somewhat like the Upward Bound program used to be. And it was a great program for kids. And a lot of kids started in Upward Bound. Upward Bound was when I was in school. And unfortunately, I regret that I never was involved with Upward Bound. But I saw what the kids who did have Upward Bound, what they were able to benefit from and accomplish. And, so I guess I'm saying, is there any way we can build something else in, or are we just 900 and that's it? Those kids that started as 7th graders.
We will absolutely explore. Dr. Freeman Mack is very passionate in her speech, and so I'm going to move us along, and we will have opportunities to share. She wants to say one thing.
So I did just want to emphasize, because I forgot something, this program focuses on first-generation students and also students that are impoverished. So this is a really powerful opportunity for our students. I did want to express that. It's important.
And can I squeeze one more thing in? How were the students chosen?
I'm going to say this again. Every single 8th grade student.
Everyone.
Every single one. It follows them. So if we have a kid in 8th grade who's really not interested, and then in 10th grade they get interested and they're still in that cohort from 8th grade, they're in it.
Ms. Lamar.
If this position is following that one cohort all the way through, is there the expectation there'll be another position? I'm sorry. Is there the expectation that there'll be another position created next year for the next bat the next cohort coming through, and we'll just be cycling through?
So this year, the site administrators will be preferably at the 8th grade level, right, in those buildings, because it's really an extra earnings opportunity. And then as the students all go into 9th grade, the site administrators will be an extra earnings opportunities, preferably for someone at the high school level. But the coordinator of the overall program will remain the same.
And on Mr. Howard's idea, I mean, it's not for me, but I mean, it'd be great, along what he was saying, if, like, say, someone in 9th grade says, I'd really like to get on board, if maybe the tools that are available in this program were made available to our guidance, and the guidance could then sort of guide them in the same path that that these kids are getting.
One more thing.
So the grant involves guidance counselors as well.
So we're good? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Yes. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Yes. 8.22, resolution to approve a risk management appointment. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Any questions on this? Okay, Ms. Boulay.
Do the qualifications of the candidate match the minimum qualifications of the posted job description and the posting, including education?
I believe the posting said a master's in business. Civil service has changed the job description to be a master's degree in anything with a certain number of years of experience. So,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I have a question as far as the amount of money that we spend on the insurance premiums every year is roughly over $65 million, roughly. Is that an accurate number? No? What's our...
For health insurance?
No.
Oh.
Total insurance premiums for the entire district.
Oh, I don't know.
Give me an opportunity to research.
Okay.
And I'll provide it in the weekly. Send me the question directly, specifically what you need, and so I can have the accurate information.
Okay.
All right?
That would be good to know, because this position, if it's going to be generate
reduction
in insurance premiums or payouts in any way, it's a positive. I do have some concerns about the process here, but the thought of creating the position itself is a positive for the district.
Sorry, I was going to say thank you. I want to remind you that we did put some information in, maybe 2 weeks ago in the weekly, that would give some additional information. I see the board vice president nodding her head in agreement. So there was some information regarding the need for creation of the risk management. It wasn't necessarily for insurance, but a portion of workers' compensation. So I will, if you can look back, I don't know the date, I will put that in the information for you, and then that will help to give you some context as well.
Okay.
The 20th, thank you very much.
So I'll send the question in, but I'll also look.
Thank you. And ask and pose the other question about the insurance. I want to make sure you have the information you need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call, please.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
No.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
No.
Ms. Boulay?
No.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? He passed.
That item passed. 8.24, resolution to approve the appointment of an interim director of exceptional learners. Can I have a motion and a second?
Mr. President, This is the item that we needed to amend, a couple things that's in that.
Sure, once we get a motion in a second, we can amend. Okay. Motion in a second, please.
Second.
Okay, so it's on the table. What's the amendment to the resolution?
The amendment, the first amendment is in the title of the resolution. It should say, "Resolution to approve the appointment of Ann, A-N, Interim Director of Exceptional Learners." That's one of the amendments. And the other amendment is the funding source is incorrect on the original resolution, and it's the ARP money that is the funding source.
So now we have the amendment. We need a motion and a second to amend.
Second.
Roll call to amend.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Belay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Okay, so now the item is amended. Is any discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
No.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
No.
Ms. Belay?
No.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
5 yeses.
That item is passed.
Okay, yes. So that concludes my items. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Lyman. Item 9, Assistant Superintendent, CIO, DPO, Ms. Peterson.
I was looking up the other thing, so I think I have items, I just have one item, 9.1 for consent agenda this evening.
Can I have a motion in a second? Any discussion on the item? Second. Oh, fine. Roll call, please.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Belay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Thank you, that concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Item 10, Assistant Superintendent Curriculum Instruction Elementary, Ms. Moriarty.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have items 10.1 and 10.2 as consent agenda for your consideration.
Would anybody like to separate any of these items? Ms. Belay?
10.2.
Okay, so we're going to vote on these separately. 10.1, resolution to approve conference request elementary. Can I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Any questions on this item? Can you explain the reason for this item?
Sure. So the conference that Ms. Vann and Mr. McElmore attended did not originally include the food package. And then when they got to the conference, there was no food, so we had to purchase the food package for them. So it then, the amount of money that was on the original resolution wasn't enough to cover. So we have to rescind that, pull it back, and then the new amendment is on 10.2 to increase the amount.
So the increased amount is up to $1,500?
Up to.
Up
yes,
to.
Correct.
Okay, so the food package, the original approved expense was up to $1,000.
Correct, which did not include food for the 3 days.
Okay. And that's a 50% increase that we didn't know about ahead of time, or just, it was just it happened?
I believe, I'm not sure, I don't know how it happened, to be honest with you. I believe, I think there's,
It's a very valid question. I believe what occurred when they registered for the hotel that they registered for, they did not have enough room, so they were sent to a different hotel. And with the other hotel, the hotel that they attempted to register for, the food package was considered into that price. So because they used a different hotel, the food was then utilized, had to be purchased for that hotel that they could not gain access to. I think I was a little fuzzy, but that's exactly what occurred.
So it's like a package deal. When
Yes.
you apply for a conference, if you stay at the hotel,
Yes.
you get some kind of a package deal.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And because they did not have room at that hotel where the conference was being held, they had to purchase the food outside of that. So that's what occurred.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we're voting to rescind the first one. Okay, any other questions on this item?
I do.
Ms. Boulay?
I'm sorry, I just got confused there. That's all. If we were originally going to approve $1,000, we assume that that include food, and they'd say at that Consaga, whatever, however you say it, hotel. So if they were going to stay at that hotel, why wouldn't the food have been included?
I believe they had to switch hotels to go to a different hotel where the price was, there was an increase at that other hotel for the overflow of people.
Because the way it was written was
For
not
the
that.
original hotel stay. So sometimes when you go to a conference and you stay at the
No,
hotel, the conference center,
I
it's a
understand. I remember
package.
the dollar amount of $528 being exclusively for meals.
Mr. Forget.
I believe the original resolution was for the alternate hotel, correct? It was not for the hotel where the conference was being held. The original was $1,000 to stay at an alternate hotel from where the conference was held. There was oversight, let's admit there was oversight, that we would have to pay for the food package separately. That's why there's a discrepancy between the 1,000 and the 1,500.
Ms. Boulay?
And so my question is, if I go to that hotel and look online for what the meals are, it's not equaling $528 each. So it's another 1,000. So you're saying you have to buy them a separate, thank you.
Ms. Boulay, it depends upon the event and what is included within the package of the event. So whatever the event charged for their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner, their snack, whatever was included in it, that's the price that that organization negotiated with that conference center to come up with that price. I don't think you can look individually as an individual going to the hotel for the meal plan.
Thank you
I
for
believe it's part-
explaining that, Mr. Forget.
I'm sorry.
I want to give one other piece, and perhaps, I'm not sure if that 528 may involve some sort of speaker series to be, to attend those sessions. So sometimes you pay for, it seems like, a high cost, but perhaps there is a guest speaker, and so there's a cost towards that as well, to attend some sort of workshop in that conference area while having breakfast, because that happens sometimes as well.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
No.
Ms. Boulay?
No.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
No.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
It passed.
Okay, so item passed. 10.2, resolution to approve Conference Sequence Elementary. This is the approval for the additional expense. Okay. Can I have a motion and a second? Did I do that already? Okay, motion and a second.
Second.
Who is the motion? Mr. Levinstein. Okay. You're silent tonight, Mr. Levinstein.
If you leave your microphone on.
Yeah. Any discussion on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Duray? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
No.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
No.
Ms. Boulay?
No.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
It passed.
Okay, item passed.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Moriarty. Item 11, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Secondary, Dr. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have items 11.1 through 11.3 for your consideration this evening.
Would any board member like to remove, separate items? Ms. Boulay.
Just have a question on 11.2.
So we're going to do a consent for all three. Can we make a motion and a second to begin discussion?
Second.
Any questions on any of these items? Ms. Belay has a question, but I think
Okay.
she's waiting for something to load.
Just a general question, right? So so on one of these items, the ratio is 10 to 1, 10 kids, 1 adult. Another one, it's 6 kids, but there's only 6 kids going, right, and 1 teacher. And then the third one is just 1 student, but 2 adults. So I was just curious, do we have any kind of like a policy? Is there a ratio that we follow?
There is a ratio in policy. However, for example, on the item where there's 1 student and 2 teachers, that's an overnight trip, and it would be inappropriate for us to send 1 student and 1 teacher. That is a state championship for varsity boys track. Also, the consideration, we frequently enhance the ratio of adults to students depending on the venue, the activity, the movement students may have during the trip itself, in an excess of caution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on 11.1 through 11.3? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Stradiron?
Yes.
Ms. Belay?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further items.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Items 12, Assistant Superintendent of Exceptional Learners, Mr. Baer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Exceptional Learner Division has 3 items, 12.1 through 12.3 for the board's consideration.
Would anybody like to separate the items? Ms. Boulay?
Please separate 12.2 and 12.3.
Okay, so we're going to vote on each one separately. Actually, yeah, 12.1, can I have a motion in a second?
Motion.
Questions on the item? Roll call.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Stradiron?
Yes.
Ms. Belay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Item 12.2, resolution to authorize a consultant agreement with Joanne Hamilton Morris. Can I have a motion and a second? Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay?
My question is that this person is going to, as you lay out what it says they're going to do is what they're going to do. My concern is that that's outsourcing and that we have an NTA set of people who could fulfill that requirement. And if it were to be outsourcing, that would be against what we're supposed to do. So I'm asking the question.
So there are very strict requirements by New York State as to what is required to provide a bilingual extension. There's actually language in the Office of Professions as well as in special education. Not just anyone can do this. It has to be someone who actually is, there's a standard that you have to follow. I'll certainly provide that to the board on Friday and the board weekly. There are not people who have this in our district. Unfortunately, we certainly cultivate this when we can. And they also have to be with it. Our teachers evaluate their students. So if you're a Bonneville student in second grade, you do Bonneville second grade students when those evaluations come up. So if I have 3 bilingual people across the district, they can't leave their classroom to cover, which is essentially close to 300-400 evaluations across the district. Ms. Hamilton does the lion's share of them, but our psychologists, because of the sheer volume, also have the bilingual extension do them as well. So if there's any way we could work on how to get 100 bilingual teachers, I'd be happy to join that cause, but that does not exist. We have to follow Part 200 regulations with regard to evaluations, and we need people who can actually be qualified to do this work, and Ms. Hamilton has done that for years for the district.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Stradiron?
No.
Ms. Belay?
No.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
No.
Passed.
12.3, resolution to authorize a consultant agreement with Flourishing Minds. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay?
This organization, was this the organization that did a summer school program for us a few years back?
No, they are not.
So they're not the group with the physical education pieces that we did during summer school
No,
for students with disabilities?
they are not.
Thank you.
Has this group worked with our district before?
They submitted an RFP last year and were successful in that RFP. It allows us to have a multi-year contract with them. They did work with our students last year, and they continue to work with some as well this year. It's an as-needed basis to provide technical assistance, consultations to our teachers and our support staff.
When we have a group that works with our students, is there any kind of a evaluation system for that group? Is it something that the board could see, or is that mostly an informal?
I think the standard is that the student, we're able to successfully keep the student in their current placement. They're brought into the most challenging of cases when we have expressed concerns about the student's ability to maintain that placement. So we monitor that very carefully in terms of how they help provide supports and suggestions and strategies for those students so they can be maintained in their placements. And for the most part, they've been successful in doing that. I can certainly provide how many students there have worked with in 22-23 and what the outcomes were accordingly.
Is there a formal evaluation process for all our consultants, or not?
I think they have a contract. As long as they meet the contract, that's the standard. So,
Ms. Boulay and then Mr. Lamar.
So are teachers going to be expected to follow the advice of these consultants? So is it directive in any way? And then secondly, what if a consultant thinks that a child is misplaced? Would the district listen to that?
the placement of children is determined by the Committee on Special Education exclusively, so that's not really within their purview. They're there to support the student's placement as it currently stands. They provide suggestions and strategies in written form. It's always the purview of the staff whether they follow it or not, but that's if it's in the IEP, if those are incorporated by law, they have to follow them. So it all depends on how that is managed within their consultation.
Mr. Shaw.
Is there a reason why this cannot be on the next agenda?
We need them to start. We already have students with express needs. They've also provided some time-limited PD that we need them for.
So you're saying that there aren't adequate staff members now to cover these needs?
We will put it on the next agenda for next month,
Okay.
the 28th.
Okay.
So you'll need a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Can I have a motion to table this item?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call to table.
Mr. Schroediron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Yes. Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. Baird. Can I have a motion from the board to end this meeting? And a second. Roll call.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Schroediron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.